yes, I went to college, but I've always said, that was my foundation, okay? That's what college was. Then I had to learn how to build from above that the rest of the way up, and there's a lot to learn. So I don't want to say college, it has to have a college experience. I don't think in this world you have to have that. Right off the bat, the big thing is work ethic. Have a very strong desire and work ethic. You have to be reliable. People depend on you to show up to work every day ready to go. I would say, you want to focus to be on Lombardi time, which means if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late.
Okay.
Yep.
So there's a little bit to be said for what Mr. Lombardi taught that people can take and deploy in life. But I think it's very important, really master that trade and be able to make a good income and a living and be a productive person in society and, have medical and retirement benefits. I meet a lot of wonderful, salt-of-the-earth, hardworking people on that job every day.
We rolling?
All right.
All right.
How are you, Pete?
I'm great.
Good.
I'm doing
Good.
well. Took the glasses off.
Took the glasses off.
Yeah. Baseball cap backwards.
Look good. You look good.
Yeah. Thank you.
Good.
Appreciate it. Yeah. I think the fans out there on the pod will appreciate the no glasses look.
The four fans we have.
The four fans we have. That text us every time we put one of these things out.
Yeah. We had a really nice conversation with Mayor Biss and John Kenny from Kenny Construction.
Yep.
I thought that was a great episode. I thought that, to hear from the Flood Stud about solving a major problem in Chicago, I thought that was fantastic.
Yeah, that was a really good one.
Yeah.
Got a lot of traction. I heard from more than 4 people. But seriously, I think these are the kind of conversations we want to have.
Yeah, just to remind people, what do you do at that high school over there?
Yeah, I'm the assistant superintendent for curriculum and instruction. So all of the academic offerings, essentially, I help curate with teachers and department heads. So, I think and part of the reason I'm on this podcast is to learn from employers, from trades folks, just, essentially learn about what y'all do, and then learn about how the high school can be responsive or how public education can be responsive. So, I might ask some really silly questions. Yeah. I might ask some real neophyte questions, but, they're all asked in good spirit, and they're all asked to improve the workforce development in Evanston.
Yeah.
So that's kind of our passion. And Pat and I go way back on that. To a basketball court back when my knees were good. I think I have the best cardio of my life right now, but I have the worst knees.
Yeah. I think you join that club.
So let's introduce our guest here, Geoff Moore with Turner Construction. You're one of the leaders over at the Ryan Field. Could you just introduce yourself? Where are you from? I think where you actually live is sort of fascinating, and just introduce yourself if you don't mind.
Okay. Geoff Moore, Vice President and Construction Executive at Turner. And we have a JV, so I would be remiss not to mention our JV partner, Walsh Construction. So collectively, we're known as CSC, or Central Street Consortium. And our team is building the new Ryan Field for the university and the Ryan family.
It's I happen to live right next door to it, and so I've gotten to know you and a lot of your team members over the time, Sarge and Mike, and you've been a good neighbor to us. I want to say thank you.
Yeah.
Really, my wife was worrying about our foundation at one point, and literally within an hour, there was a team of people over there looking at our house and making sure. So thank you as a neighbor for how you've treated us. Also, I want to say, last year you all came to the expo. Sarge has had multiple conversations with young people who are interested in, Sarge has his own background, guiding people towards career. When I hear a kid saying, I'm interested in this, our job is to try and find resources. And I just want to say a big shout out to Sarge. He's just been an incredible
person. He is a wonderful human being.
Unbelievable.
And I think, it's been a pleasure to get to know you, being right next door to the project, and getting together a number of times. I think there are a number of us on the team that are very passionate about opportunities for young people in construction. You know, construction as a whole has an aging workforce, and that's not across one trade. That's across all of the trades. It's an aging workforce, and we're very excited that you guys are working through this to create an opportunity at Evanston High School for young people who are coming out of high school. I did go to college. I'm sure you guys did too, but college is not for every young person. And to have an opportunity to have a career in a professional construction trade where you can learn a trade, work with people, learn about other trades that you're interfacing with. Depending on your electrician, you're learning about things with the plumbing and the mechanical and the fire protection, because you're interfacing a lot with those trades. So you learn a lot about construction that may not necessarily be about your trade, but it's about the industry. And then having the opportunity for young people to go through an apprenticeship program, learn a trade, and a career opportunity to be able to make a nice living and have, you know, health benefits and have a retirement plan and the ability to provide for their family and have be able to provide a good life for your family.
Yeah.
And be a very productive member of society.
Yeah, we've been very, very pleased. You know, when Rob Piani from the Carpenters Union came over, I think he had a relationship with Mayor Biss. Mayor Biss suggested he come and talk to us, and we now have 8 young people working on Ryan Field. Could you describe what those young people are doing? Like, what's that process for the? If you know, what are the steps that probably are happening for them? They're 2 months in right now.
Yeah,
you know?
You typically would be, you know, sitting down with them and asking. Obviously, it's the carpenters, so it's a carpenter trade. So you're looking at all of the different opportunities for a carpenter on the project. You know, maybe, you know.
What do the carpenters do there? What do they do?
As an example, carpenters are building all of the metal stud, the light gauge and structural stud framing, and then the drywall, the wood blocking, installation of a great number of things across the entire job, like all the seats and benches, etc., wood blocking. And it's what is that individual, you know, kind of interested in. A lot of the young people, they have an idea. Sometimes they don't have an idea. And it's, you know, what do you like to do? Ask some questions and then look at what our needs are and where the best place to place them. And, you know, I had an opportunity to speak to one of the individuals who is currently employed by Escarpita Construction, which is our drywall subcontractor on the job. And that person is learning, working with a team and framing, and is going to get an opportunity with actually hanging and the placement of drywall, et cetera, on the job. And they're going to get some real world on the job training and that opportunity to move into, an apprenticeship program. And a lot is the individual too, is that work ethic and passion and desire to learn, and showing that you're willing to get your hands dirty, roll up your sleeves, and get after it. So when we have someone like that, it really, and especially the seasoned, you know, crusty veteran, when they see someone that, hey, you know, is eager and getting after it, you know, they generally, that breaks down a lot of walls and creates more opportunity, because now they see that this person is serious about that opportunity, and they want to invest in them and see them learn something and grow. Maybe see a little bit of themselves as a young person. In that.
Yeah, it gets me thinking about the importance of like the relationship and being curious on the job site and throwing yourself in.
Yep.
Right. And we were talking about this a little earlier. You know, getting a university degree is an individual accomplishment. right? It's an individual. You did it. Congratulations. You did it individually. But when you're coming over to the build site and you're a carpenter and you're being apprenticed, or we're getting you the job, the entry level job for the kids, for the students, for the grads, there are suddenly, it's not an individual thing. They're part of a team. And that has to be attractive to a certain group of students, I would imagine. Because now you don't build a stadium. One guy doesn't build a stadium, right?
One individual does not build any project alone.
Yeah.
It takes a team and a lot of coordination from a lot of team members to build something. And to build a very complicated and world-class stadium, there is a lot of teamwork and a lot of coordination that has to happen. And I would share too, a lot of conflict resolution. There's a lot of, when you have a set of documents, not everything is coordinated, or there may be issues where you got to ask questions and request for information from the engineer and resolve some things and keep things moving. So, I would say healthy conflict is also, a learned skill set.
So where do you come from to get to this place where you are now running?
I would also share to what you were saying too. I would share with anyone, or say to any young person too. Yes, I went to college, but I've always said, that was my foundation. Okay, that's what college was. Then I had to learn how to build from above that the rest of the way up, and there's a lot to learn. So I don't want to say college, it has to have a college experience. I don't think in this world you have to have that. So for me, I grew up in a small working class farm town south of Detroit, Michigan. I graduated from Michigan State University, and I interviewed with a company called Turner Construction at Student Services on campus. I was fortunate enough to be extended an offer, and 33 years later, here I am. But I went through a number of positions and growth opportunities at the company, learning things like estimating and cost and project engineering, superintending. I was assistant superintendent, and moving my way up. And I did come up from the field and general superintendent, and a number of other positions as I
name some things
company.
you've built.
I was part of the team that built, as an instance, Kansas Speedway. So I currently live and travel in from Kansas City.
Wow.
So I spent a chunk of my career in Kansas City and another chunk in Denver, Colorado. So I was part of the team that built Kansas Speedway. I was part of the team that did the renovations at Arrowhead Stadium that finished in 2010. Part of the team terminal expansion at the Denver airport. Part of a team that's building a training center for the Denver Broncos. I've been on a great number of teams over the years, and wonderful opportunities. As a young person, I wanted to find a career where I could build a skyscraper, an NFL stadium, and then my third thing was something cool. And I'd like to say I still have not been on the high rise, but I've had the opportunity in the NFL stadium. I'm having the wonderful opportunity, largely created by the Ryan family and University, Northwestern, for the Ryan Field project. And it's a wonderful opportunity. I've never done the skyscraper, and I'd like to say I've had an opportunity on a lot of different cool things. So it's been a rewarding career, and I would share with any young person, a wise man once told me, always check your ego at the door. There's a fine line between being confident and being something else. And I won't use the descriptive word on your show.
Anything's allowed on the pod.
Yeah.
Check that ego. Focus on the team. It's not about one person or a large ego. It's about a team. Focus on that team together, and collectively together, that team builds these projects. And I would say to a young person, it's usually at the end when you're driving by or later in life. You know, I drive on the highway back from the airport, and I'll pass a number of projects that I had happened to be lucky to be a team member on. I mentioned Kansas Speedway. Adjacent to that is a large retail project, Nebraska Furniture Mart. I was part of that team that built that. And so when I drive by those two projects going home from the airport, there's a sense of satisfaction. It brings a smile to my face, and you often remember, we talked about those relationships you're growing and learning from, and I often reflect, and a couple of those people have passed on, those crusty veterans that you learned something from, and part of those team, I can think of two people that pop in my head when I drive by those jobs that I'm thankful and blessed to have had that opportunity to work with those people and to learn some things from them. Hopefully they learned a couple things from me, but wonderful opportunities.
Let's go back to the apprentice thought process.
Yeah.
So we've got, let's say, an 18, 19-year-old that's interested in something in construction. What should they be thinking about as they, a lot of times in the 18-plus category when they show up, or actually as we start working on what does it mean to be trade-ready in high school, what is it that, give me the characteristics that what your definition of a trade-ready means.
Okay, and we
I think he's ready to go on this one.
We talked a little bit about this, but I would tell you right off the bat, the big thing is work ethic. Have a very strong desire and work ethic. You have to be reliable. People depend on you to show up to work every day, ready to go.
You say something like being on time is being early is on time.
Yeah,
What's your phrase on that? Do you have a phrase on that?
Yeah, I would say you want to focus to be on Lombardi time, which means if you're not 15 minutes early, you're late.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a little bit to be said for what Mr. Lombardi taught that people can take and deploy in life. But I think it's very important because, and I would say to young people, this is a lesson my father taught me. You may not be as smart as the guy next to you, but if you outwork him, most employers are going to select you because they know you're on time, early, on time, you're ready to work, and you're going to bust your butt. So work ethic is very, very important. From a standpoint in school, I know some young people, math may be not the most favorite subject, but that's okay. Take the time to focus on the lessons, learn what you can. You don't have to be the A+ student, but it's a good skill set and knowledge base to have. And I would tell you the other thing is dealing with people is important. And I would share with you, and I know your role now. I would tell you that I think it's a wonderful opportunity in a public school with the Evanston school system, because in a public education, I think you're dealing with people from all walks of life and learning to interact with fellow students and people from all walks of life. And I think that public school education provides something that's kind of special for learning how to communicate with people.
Yeah, I would agree. I think when we talk to alumni, all different levels of alumni, most successful folks in who go and run companies, folks who are big in all different industries, folks who just walking around town, or you're on vacation wearing an Evanston shirt and they come up to you. One of the things they all point out about the Evanston public education, they say, I can talk to anyone, I can communicate to anyone. That's the true value add, period.
That's awesome.
And that is huge. I always use the basketball analogy of, I don't know, it typically works with like Celtic fans, they love their Larry Bird. But Magic Johnson never, he's not the all-time great in any one of those statistical categories, unlike Larry or Jordan. I guess we're in Chicago, right? I'm a Knicks fan. We don't do anything well. But, the Bull, Jordan, right? Greatest of all time, the GOAT, all that stuff, right? Statistically great. Magic Johnson had something special, and it wasn't quantifiable. And he's considered one of the top guards of all time, right? I think that's the Evanston education. The value add is that ability in that public sphere, in that diverse school that we have in the community, that it really, from jump, educates kids on how to do that. And I think that's super good to hear. But I also think it comes with a responsibility to actually practice those things on the job site, right?
Yep.
And with folks. So
Yep.
it's great to hear. I would like to hear a little bit more about, and I know this is a challenge sometimes when you bring younger people into a work site, the safety aspect. I know like older, people who've been doing it, and not just the crusty veterans, but people who've been doing it a while, probably look at these young kids and say, this isn't going to be safe. How do you guys get the young folks accustomed to not just showing up every day and work ethic, but how do you get them used to being on a team where safety is really important?
Yeah. And I would share with you that obviously anyone that comes to work at the Ryan Field Project, first they have to go take a drug test, and then they spend 2 hours going through a safety orientation. You go through the orientation, you get a badge so that you can go enter the turnstile at the project or exit from the project, and you learn a number of safety skill sets and how to prepare yourself for working on the job site. But specifically working with a young person, and all the trades are very good about, taking when a young person comes in to trying to team them up with a buddy that's going to help, teach them, help them to learn, but also to show them how to do it right and make sure, hey, we have to go get our harnesses for this work objective that we're going to be doing today. We're going to have to tie off. We're going to be above 6 feet, and we've got to put our harness on, and explaining how to put the harness on, how to fit it, and the importance. Because when you come to work, we want everyone to leave the job at the end of the day in the same physical condition that they arrived to the job site.
No, I think that's super important for our families to hear, and anyone who's interested in entering that it's not just we throw you in, because we're dealing with a group of folks who have no clue what this is.
Yeah, and I would also share, obviously, when someone goes through an apprentice program, they are also learning a lot of safety skill set to deploy on the job site in that apprenticeship program. And I would share that unions invest heavily in their apprenticeship programs, and they're proud of those apprenticeship programs and what they provide to the individuals that are coming on board into their prospective trades. They are making an investment in those individuals to come on board into their trade and become one of those career professional craftspeople.
I want to just say a shout out to Zola Stewart. Zola worked out of our space here at the Trade Collective for, 15 months.
She's a wonderful lady.
She's great.
And she's very passionate about this.
Very passionate, and she was. I just wanted to say how helpful she was. She sat in trying to connect dots and trying to make the most out of the relationship with Turner and Evanston and the Ryan Field
And she
Project.
still does that now.
Yeah.
And she still answers the call. And she's a wonderful, wonderful lady. We're very lucky to have her.
Yeah. Well, what else should we be talking? What else should people know about? I mean, one of the things that I almost wish you could rattle off is how many different trades are operating in that one place. I mean, I've seen your walls at your trailer, at your construction trailer. I couldn't never. I mean, I can't believe the level of detail that is required.
The detail and the coordination of that.
I would tell you there's probably be between 40 and 50 different trades.
Yep.
The lay person, electrician, high voltage, medium voltage, could be low voltage. All your IT and data, telecom, et cetera. So there's a whole mirror that isn't, and it's a world for a young person that, to have an opportunity as an apprentice to see those different things and see where their passion may take them in a direction to master one of those trades.
So as a leader on the project, do you have to kind of know everything about those 40 to 50 trades?
I would share with you, there's no way in hell you're going to know every single
Right.
thing about every one of those trades. I like to say, hey, over the years, you're learned to know enough to be dangerous.
Yeah.
But you're also, as I spoke to about the importance of a team, is you're relying on the expertise of many of those different trades and professionals and working together to plan the work and work the plan.
Pete, what are you thinking about with,
I'm thinking what the high school can actually do to get kids ready for this. So we talk about trade ready. We started that conversation. We have a home improvement and maintenance class. We're looking to expand those opportunities. Just thinking about what could I do in my role, right? I got to tell you, walking into that job site, right, and just seeing the scope of it. To your point, like people think electrician, they think carpenter. I think carpenter for the longest time. I thought guy with a hammer framing something.
Yeah.
Like literally, that was like my sort of takeaway, right? Or a finisher, right?
Yeah.
I had no idea that it's much broader than that.
Yeah, much broader. I mean, you think about it, you've probably come out. I know Pat saw us. The concrete strut. Those are carpenters that are banging those forms together and preparing the walls to pour the concrete. That's all carpenters work.
It's just so expansive, right?
Yeah.
And then you think about there's 50 plus trades going on as part of the build. And then I say, okay, well, we can teach kids to do what? What would be foundational to that in in a trade ready kind of classroom?
I think it's focusing on what school could provide to them. And I know you mentioned about, a residential build, but I think having that opportunity for that classroom curriculum that focuses on construction, and then being able to move out to a field opportunity, like the house build or other construction related opportunities, to deploy some of those skill sets that they learned in the classroom curriculum would be a wonderful opportunity. And I think when we were young folks in high school, there was a lot of woodwork and auto and lots of other trades, and a lot of high schools don't necessarily have those programs anymore. So I really commend Evanston for their investment in the young folks. As I mentioned earlier, college is not necessarily for everyone, and I think I heard you say around 25% of your graduates aren't going to college, and that doesn't mean they did anything wrong. It just may not be something that clicks with them or clicks with them now in their life. But I think in construction, there's an opportunity for a young person to pick up a trade, learn a trade, really master that trade, and be able to make a good income and a living and be a productive person in society and, have medical and retirement benefits. I meet a lot of wonderful, salt of the earth, hardworking people on that job every day. I'm blessed to be associated with many of those craft persons that are on the project.
I agree. And I think, for the 25% and maybe for a percentage, and we know there's a percentage that go off and don't come and they don't finish, right? And that's even worse. That's the most expensive degree you can't get because, you're just straddled with debt with nothing to show for it.
Yeah.
If we're thinking about certifications, we have certifications that we always look to think about. There's a lot of certifications out there you can apply for kids, through curricular programs and things. I'm always interested in what are the ones that make a difference in the industry. So it's not a nice to have, but sort of a hat. Like this one really helps if you're interested in the trades or you're interested in construction.
You brought up the question about safety, and I would tell you maybe the opportunity for the student to achieve their OSHA 30-hour card in high school would be something that would be, help prep them. Doesn't matter what trade they're going to go into, they're going to learn a lot about.
What do they learn?
You're
in OSHA.
in the OSHA 30, you're gonna learn a tremendous amount of all through the different trades from excavation on up. You're gonna learn about the symbols on the side of a barrel. What's explosive, what's not, what's flammable, and the other thing it does is
Good things to know.
I'd want to know those.
Good things to know. But it's also going to teach you a tremendous amount about the OSHA rules that apply to you as a worker on any construction.
What does
project.
OSHA stand for?
Occupation Safety and Hazard Administration.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
So that's it. So here I feel like I'm having a little deja vu moment here, because remember when we sat with the autos folks?
Yeah.
We do these like panels, right? We did like a convening. Patrick organized a bunch of autos folks come in, and we found out that we were preparing kids for the wrong level of auto tech, essentially, right? We then went off and got a dual credit class with Oakton, and we've made some progress. We do what's called the OSHA 10, I believe.
Okay.
And it's not the OSHA 30.
It's not OSHA 30, but OSHA 10 is good.
And it's good, but
but OSHA 30 would raise the bar.
Raise the bar, right?
Yeah.
And would really help the student who's interested in
Yes,
that.
and I think it helps them, again, prepare them, especially a young person, for the risks and things that are out there in the real world, and help them be prepared. And it doesn't matter what trade you're going to go into. It covers a lot, and you do that.
So when you show up with an OSHA 30, it immediately says something to whom?
Anybody that's going to employ them.
Great.
Yeah, they've got an advanced knowledge base with regard to safety.
That makes sense to me.
And the thing I like about it is the individual student themselves. It gets them a little more confidence and a little more exposure to the risks that are out there, and what to be looking for, and what's right and what's wrong, and to ask a question. Shouldn't we have a harness for this activity?
Fundamentally, right?
Hey, I like to talk about money.
Yeah, let's talk about money.
If you don't mind, because I think that, these people who are working in Ryan Field, they're doing okay, right?
Yeah. All our
those crusty old people that you were talking about.
I should clarify, not everyone is crusty, but there are some, and sometimes those are some of the best people to learn from.
Yep.
So once you break down those walls, they're some of the best to learn from. Good people, craftspeople.
Yeah. So tell me just real quick about Turner Construction. I mean, I think you're the world's largest construction company. How do you term yourself?
Yeah, I would share with you right now, I believe in general construction in the United States, in E&R, we are number one, have been number one the past few years. Yes.
Yeah. That's pretty cool.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. Pretty impressive. I mean,
we're really happy to have you now that we know that. Welcome to the pod.
But and I want to share again. I represent our joint venture, Central Street Consortium.
Yes.
So I also want to tab Walsh Construction, who is our partner on the project, and they're also a very highly rated general contractor in the E&R, and a respected competitor and a respected friend.
Yeah. Dan Welsh has been really good to us. He's come over a couple times. And I just want to say thank you for what you've done in our community, the extras, being here with us today, sharing. I mean, I love when you talk about that automotive thing, because we're all learning. This is a community that is shifting and thinking about another way to meet kids where they want to be.
I think it's a wonderful idea that you're investing in a program to invest in that 25% who just for one reason or another, maybe college isn't for them, to provide them an opportunity and a vision for something that they could reach out for.
I think that's essential, and that's something we haven't always done well. I want to own that. We've talked about this.
Yeah.
There is a proportion of kids in all, not just the 25%, but across the board, that for whatever reason, 4 more years in a desk makes their skin crawl. Now, some of them say, I'm just going to do it anyway. They go off to school and maybe they make it or maybe they don't. But it's great to be able to start to say, and we're working on this because we gotta educate our community, we gotta educate our faculty, we gotta educate our leaders in town that there is a viable pathway into the trades, into construction. And not only is it viable, it's damn good. And if you are the kid, and we know as parents, we know our kids, if you have a kid who skin crawls when I can't wait to get that high school diploma, well, you're going to need a second piece of paper. And there's an opportunity for that credentialing through the trades, through construction, and through a variety of different ways. And that's the key, I think, and to a happy life. Because if you're not enjoying what you're doing, you probably shouldn't do it. Because one of the things I heard you talk about, and we'll finish up soon, I found it fascinating how many times you said, I was part of a team, I was part of a team, I was part of a team, I was part of a team. That speaks to the culture at Turner. It speaks to who you are, but it also speaks to, like you said earlier, no one person builds anything of substance, right? So that to me was like, I always sit back and I listen, and I said, this guy's saying team a whole heck of a lot, because that's who you are, that's the culture. And I think that needs to be out there too. I think that's huge. So
and you mentioned, how do you prepare the students? And I think it's also, explaining to them what they are getting into too. And most jobs start at 7 o'clock in the morning. So, when you
I hear that.
You've got to be,
Yes, I know that.
So you've got to be, understand that you're making a commitment at a career. And, I mentioned about being reliable, and it's a young person. You've got to, set some things aside. And during that work week, your evening's got to be different, because you want to be in bed so you can get up, get a breakfast, get your coffee, get on the road, or arrive, 15 minutes early and get yourself prepared for the day. And that's saying a lot to an employer when they see that someone is dedicating to that and that regime, and to being a professional craft person in a trade.
I love hearing that. We had a former, we had a young adult. I don't know my language anymore. We had a young guy, like 20, 19 or 20, on the last time on the pod, and he said, when does your day start? When does your work day start? And he said something like 5:30 in the morning, and I was like, 5:30 in the morning. He's like, yeah, that's the time I have to get up. Yeah. I consider that's my start time. Yeah. And then I have to get my breakfast. This is what you said, that I have to get, to the work site. But I just think that's what you want. Yeah. And it's great to hear it when the young folks say it, but it's also really great to hear that that's also the expectation from the employer. And you're one of the biggest. Employer,
and we talk, and that's all of the trades. So I'm speaking, if a plumber hires someone and they're in the apprentice, they're expecting that. The electrician hires someone and put them in the apprenticeship. That's what they're expecting from those workers. They're investing in them, and they want them to show the commitment for that investment.
Any closing thoughts as we finish up here?
I would just, say thank you for the opportunity to come join you. I know we've had a number of conversations. Pat keeps telling me to stop calling him Mr. Hughes, but I find myself doing that, and as Greg did. And just saying thank you, and thank you for everything you both are doing for your community. And I would also just say, a thank you to Northwestern University and the Ryan family. I would not be here to meet you and have this discussion if not for them and the opportunity that we, the collective team, has at Ryan Field. Yeah,
I share the same sentiment, and we appreciate that whole team. We, as a gift to being on the Fired Up podcast, we have Hecky's barbecue sauce.
Oh, okay. I've had some Hecky's barbecue.
All right, good, good.
Excellent.
A neighbor might have brought you some?
Yeah. One of the neighbors might have gave me a couple of bottles and said thank you.
Well, welcome, and thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate you guys.
Thank you.